Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. Today I want to try something a little different, and that's an editorial style episode. It's not about any breaking news stories, but about something going on in Hollywood in general. And today is going to be about awards season. Now, one of the things I like to say is that a movie shouldn't have any homework. You shouldn't have to read the book. You shouldn't have to do any research. You should just be able to walk in and enjoy it as is. But I'm afraid that one thing in Hollywood that does need homework is awards season. If you want to be able to participate in all the conversations that are going on, if you want to know what everybody's talking about, there are certain movies you need to see. And your due date for this homework is coming up because, believe it or not, awards season is really picking up pace. As this Thursday, the day after tomorrow, the Golden Globe nominations are going to be announced. I'll do a big video covering that, of course, but we are just about to be in the thick of it. So here are some movies. I've come up with the list of the top ones I think you need to watch. There are 4 of them that I've put on here. Not too bad, not too much homework. And then I have a section for honorable mention. Films I don't think that are pivotal that you see, but if you really, I guess we'll call them, instead of honorable mention, we'll call them extra credit. If you really want to be on top of awards season, you should see all 7 of these movies. All right, but the first thing I want to say before we go into the movies specifically, and I'm going to talk about each one of them a little bit, is that it's interesting that this year, the small indie film is really the strongest contenders for the awards season. And there was some talk in years past that the studios had figured out the Oscar formula and were becoming really competitive in this area. And, you know, what would happen to the indie film as a result? Because the awards season has always been their bread and butter, when they really get a chance to shine. And they get, extra attention from mainstream audiences because these awards shows put them in the spotlight. Now, of course, that creates the question as to whether or not we should be celebrating films that no one's heard of and no one's seen. But that's only, I think, a real question when the movies aren't good and they're nominated for political reasons. Like, for instance, The Reader was an infamous example of this, the Kate Winslet, Harvey Weinstein film. But I think when you have really good movies like you do this year, you're like, yeah, these movies do deserve recognition, and they deserve all this attention in the center ring for awards season. And the studio pictures this year, like Unbroken and Interstellar and Gone Girl, they're in the mix, sure, but they're the underdogs this year. And I think this whole situation just is better for everybody because it just creates better product. The studios pushed back, and then the indie films pushed back, and they pushed back hard this year, and I'm sure we'll see even better contenders from the studios next year. So I think the whole thing's very exciting. All right, so let's start with your homework assignment. The film that I think is most important that you watch for awards season is Birdman. It's a pretty wide release at this point. I think odds are it's playing somewhere near you, so do yourself a favor, go out and see it. This is a huge frontrunner. It's snowballing. You know, it's one of those movies, I said it's pretty much my favorite movie of the year. Nothing's unseated it yet, but I still have a couple of pictures to go. But it's one of those movies that is just so breathtaking and wonderful. I'm trying hard not to overhype it. I think I'm failing. But I think that it's so good that when I saw it, I was worried that it wouldn't get the recognition it deserved. I was like, this is too good to actually be nominated across the board as it deserves to be. And I'm so happy that it is being nominated in that way. Michael Keaton, in fact, is even considered the frontrunner right now in the Best Actor category. And that's so exciting, not just for this movie, but for Michael Keaton. I think that this might be one of those situations, just like Jeff Bridges. I mean, you could say, we'll talk about Eddie Redmayne in a moment. He's on this list for The Theory of Everything. But I think Michael Keaton, it might be a situation where the industry feels it's his turn. But it's just really a brilliant movie. It's a great commentary on where the business is today. And as I said in my review, it's not judgmental. You know, I think it's very honest, but I think it both praises and tears down the system. And that's how you look at any current situation, for the good and the bad. And I think this movie explores that brilliantly. It's also a tremendous piece of artwork. It's well written. It's incredibly well directed. And the cinematography is just stunning with these long single takes throughout the film. It really is. It feels very theatrical. It really is a film in an artistic sense, but in a business sense too, because it explores, as I said, what the industry is doing right now and how it's put together and what it takes to make it in Hollywood. And I just think it's fantastic, and I can't recommend it highly enough, and I think it's going to be a very strong contender this awards season in multiple categories. So you really need to see Birdman. If you've been putting it off, don't put it off any longer, especially because all these holiday movies are coming out, and it very well might lose some of its theaters. All right, so that's the most important film for you to see. Next, I have to say, the second most important film for you to see is Boyhood. Now, if you haven't seen Boyhood in theaters, you're going to have to wait a little bit, make a note somewhere, because it doesn't come out on Blu-ray and DVD and streaming likely. It might come out a little earlier on streaming, but January 6th is the release date for that hard copy Blu-ray DVD. You're definitely going to want to watch this. It's not a bad film. It was not one of my favorite films of the year, but I respected it. I did think it was a little gimmicky, but I certainly thought it was interesting and it was thought-provoking. And a lot of people enjoyed it much more than I did. And it's a very strong awards contender. It's also a strong awards contender across the board. Richard Linklater, very good relationship with the awards, different awards shows. He's been on their radars before with Bernie, of course, and so many other films. Patricia Arquette is a very strong frontrunner for Best Supporting Actress, so that's one reason to watch it. Ethan Hawke, also on some people's radar for different awards. And then, of course, Eller Coltrane, who plays the boy growing up over all these years. I don't know if he'll get nominated just for growing up, right? But he did do a nice job, and he'll certainly be a face that they're going to be having at these awards shows to promote the film. And because he's literally the face of the movie. So Boyhood is definitely something you want to watch, and it's going to be a very strong contender. I do feel that Birdman and Boyhood right now are your frontrunners. Now, the other movie I think you need to see, the third, I have four here again, the third is The Theory of Everything. This is a really spectacular movie. I actually saw it for the second time over the weekend. I thought it was very, very good. But the only thing that I think is it doesn't quite hold up as much the second time as some other films might. I saw Birdman twice as well. Birdman held up. The Theory of Everything, though, Eddie Redmayne's performance is really something that needs to be seen. I think it's a tremendous breakthrough for the actor, both in terms of his craft and his place in the industry and being on people's radar. I think he's totally blindsided Benedict Cumberbatch in The Imitation Game with this movie, and they might even end up canceling each other out. But it's really just a beautiful movie about the human condition and life itself. Don't focus too much on the science aspects of it. It is a movie about, living and, the human condition. Very, very strong film. And again, Eddie Redmayne's performance is really the center, the focal point of the film. And he will certainly be nominated. And he is I think right now he's the best person there is to potentially upset Michael Keaton for Best Actor. It depends. What is the Academy going to be rewarding? Whose time is it? What's the better story with Michael Keaton making this comeback, coming home to acting after doing those Batman superhero movies, which is part of the message of Birdman itself, or Eddie Redmayne for craft. What is it? Craft over politics. Eddie Redmayne does the better job in terms of his performance, but there's a lot of what Michael Keaton did was thanks to the script. Very well-written movie, Birdman. So The Theory of Everything, brilliant movie, very good. It's just a good movie. You'll have a good time going to see it, and it's also going to be, I think, a strong awards contender across the board in multiple categories. Then the fourth film I have to put on here is Whiplash. Now, Whiplash, when I saw it, I said it was probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. I still feel that way, but one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's not as good as Birdman, but it's very, very strong. I think it might have come out too early, and that's hurting it. Boyhood, of course, came out much earlier, but Whiplash just is having trouble, maintaining its momentum that it got out of Sundance in the beginning of this year, way back in winter, January, February. So Whiplash, though, the reason it's on here, you might be like, well, why would you put this on your top four? It's because J.K. Simmons is considered quite a lock for Best Supporting Actor. He, of course, is the voice of Tenzin. He's J. Jonah Jameson in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies. He's a wonderful character actor that has so many fans. He's one of those guys, as soon as you see him, you know that at least his role will be well done. And he's a very versatile actor, I think, as we're beginning to discover. He's really very good in Whiplash. He does a fantastic job in the film, and I think he's deserving of the Best Supporting awards that he'll probably be picking up at multiple award ceremonies. So you'll want to see the film just for that reason alone, but also it's just a very good movie about what it takes to have a career in the arts. As I said, it's very tense, really well done. It might pick up a few other nominations. It might pick up something for Miles Teller in acting, and Damien Chazelle, who wrote and directed it, might get a nomination in either one of those categories as well. I don't think it has a chance of winning any of them except for J.K. Simmons, but it will probably be nominated. It's a good movie. It's worth your time. All right, so what's the extra credit? Well, you should consider seeing The Imitation Game. Even though I didn't like it very much, again, I thought it was quite formulaic. I do think that The Imitation Game is something that Harvey will probably be able to get in there. He's very, very tight with the Academy. He knows how to work this group of voters. And I think that there's such a wide field, especially in Best Picture, that he'll be able to get it in the mix. I don't think it's going to win, but it's very popular with audiences. It's doing very well with its per theater average, second week strong. So it's something that people will be talking about. And Benedict Cumberbatch very likely will be nominated. I don't think he's going to win, but he'll likely be nominated. So you might as well see it because a lot of people will not only be talking about it, but also whether or not it deserves to be there. That's something I'm certainly going to be talking about. And so it would be great if you saw it and then you could draw your own conclusions and then we can discuss it in the comments down below, of course, which is something we always love to do. I love talking movies with you guys. So if you've seen The Imitation Game, you can discuss its worthiness even better. The other film that you should see is Foxcatcher. Foxcatcher is a very long, very slow, and very sad movie. Very sad movie. I don't think I could watch it again, actually. But it has 3 incredible performances in it. Channing Tatum, Steve Carell, and Mark Ruffalo. And if it weren't for Eddie Redmayne and Michael Keaton and another year's Oscar race, perhaps last year's if they'd stayed with the film in that year of contention, Steve Carell would be a frontrunner for Best Actor. In the beginning, actually not just the beginning of this year, just a few months ago he was considered a frontrunner, but things are changing quickly. However, he could still surprise people. He is very good in the role, and I think that all 3 of those performances are a potential upset in their respective categories. So I would definitely see Foxcatcher if you really want to go the distance on watching Oscar movies, but just again, prepare yourself. It's a very sad, slow, and it's a serious film. I forget the other S that I had, but it's something that it's a little bit of a chore to watch, but I think at the end you'll feel ultimately rewarded. And I do think it'll be a big part of the awards discussion. Then the other film, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't vouch for whether or not I feel it's a worthy contender, but Selma is actually picking up a lot of steam. That's the Oprah Winfrey, Martin Luther King Jr. bio. That comes out, right around the holidays, right at the end of the year, just so it can qualify, and it seems to have some very good buzz. And so people are thinking that that's going to be a strong contender in multiple categories as well, and as a female director. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. And of course, Oprah will be pushing for it, but then again, The Butler didn't work out last year at all, and Oprah was a very big champion of that film as well. That was a great movie, but it just, couldn't compete with 12 Years a Slave. However, there's nothing this year to really compete with Selma, except for perhaps the memory of 12 Years a Slave, and maybe wanting to focus on a different topic, this Oscar season. But then again, with everything happening with Ferguson and Eric Garner, maybe this is a discussion that we still need to be having, and maybe this is a great time for a picture of a movie about, a pacifist demonstrator, someone who was nonviolent, but still got tremendous results. Maybe this is the perfect time for a movie about Martin Luther King Jr. Let's just see if it's a movie worthy of him. So those are the movies I really think that you need to see to really be a part of the awards discussion. Again, Thursday, Golden Globe nominations come out. I'll be covering them. I'll have a video. It'll be a big day. We'll be off to the races finally with our big guns. So again, just to reiterate, you want to see Birdman, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Those are all playing in theaters right now. Birdman and Theory of Everything should be the easiest ones for you to find. Boyhood comes out, Blu-ray, DVD, mark your calendar, January 6th. And then, of course, if you have the time, check out The Imitation Game, Foxcatcher, and Selma. Those are the 7 films that I think will put you in very good shape for awards season. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this editorial discussion. Write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let me know any questions you'd like to see or stories you'd like to see covered tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.